Hi, welcome to a new video. If you are new here, my name is Amandine. I've been living in Singapore for almost 5 years now, and on this channel I like to share about anything that's happening in Singapore. Today I want to give you the information if you are looking to open a bank account in a local bank in Singapore, so for example DBS, UOB or OCBC, and then how to get a debit card or a credit card to use with your account. First, and put simply, know that it's not possible to open a Singaporean bank account if you are not residing in Singapore. The banks are going to ask for your passport as well as a pass that prove that you are allowed to reside in Singapore to consider your application. So these requirements are making it really difficult to open a bank account in Singapore if you are just visiting and don't plan to settle here. But if you have a SingPass already, it's actually really easy. You can apply for a Singapore bank account online. You just need another document to prove your residential address. And if you don't have a SingPass, here are the documents that you will need to open a bank account: your passport, a valid pass that shows that you are legally allowed to stay in Singapore, so like a work pass, and again a document to prove your address. The document to prove your address can be quite anything, so for example a phone bill, utility bill, a bank statement, a rental agreement, or if you don't have all those yet, you can ask your employer to give you an kind of like employment letter, so confirming your employment, so your position in the company, and then you have to give a proof of employment, so for example your employment contract or payslip if you have already. If you have the option, I can only recommend that you head to the bank directly and ask a person there if you have any doubt concerning the validity of your documents. Concerning the banks, DBS is the largest bank in Singapore and in Southeast Asia in general. If you are new to Singapore, I think it's the one you should go to first because they have a dedicated expatriate program. Even myself is the first bank account that I opened when I arrived in Singapore, and I still have it to this day. The name of the bank account that I have, it's a multiplayer account, so it allows you to manage different kind of currency, and it also comes with some rewards, for example cashback. But to be honest, I'm not exactly sure of the benefit that this account has, because it's just the one that like they gave me by default. I didn't really look deeply into it when I just arrived in Singapore, but it was easy to get and it works great. Since I've also got a credit card that I connected to this account. OCBC is another big bank in Singapore. They have like many branches and many ATMs that you can find all around Singapore. Their most popular account, I believe, is the 360 account. I'm not exactly sure of the benefit, but you can look into it. I don't have it, but I know that my partner Linhan has it. The other second account that I have is with UOB. UOB is another big bank in Singapore. They have a lot of different bank accounts, but they have this particular one called the One Account, which comes with really great benefits. I really was looking forward to open this account because back then you could have up to 7.8 in interest, which is really interesting. Now the maximum is 6% since they have reviewed the interest rate, I think just last month. But it's definitely a bank account that I'm gonna keep because it's still very interesting. The way it works is that you have to meet two requirements. For example, credit your salary and do a minimum spend of $500 a month, and then you get an interest based on how much money you have on that account, a bit like a saving account. At the moment, it's 3% on the first 75k, then 4.5% on the next 50k, and then 6% on the last 25k. It's quite direct. You get the interest monthly. So for example, last month I got a bit more than $200 just having my money there. Most banks in Singapore comes with no monthly fee, so you don't really have to pay for your bank account, but there could have some additional fees and requirements. For example, when you first open the account, you have to have a minimum deposit. I think for my UOB account it was $1,000. For the DBS I cannot remember because it was a while ago, but it might be somewhat similar. Usually it's between 1 to 3k. Also often there is a minimum balance that you have to keep in your account, otherwise you're gonna have to pay a fall below fee. Beside that, there could be an early closure fee, so it's when you close an account too early, especially if you join a bank during a promotion. Often they will state a minimum period you have to keep your bank account open before you can close it. If you are leaving Singapore, just know that you can keep your account open and you don't need to close it at the moment you are leaving Singapore. And as for all banks, you have to check the ATM fees as well as the international transfer fees. Those are all the things that you should consider when you are opening a bank account in Singapore. Now, most bank accounts are going to come with a free debit card, so you can already spend with your bank account in Singapore. But you might want to look a bit further than debit card and get a credit card, because the culture of credit card is widely spread in Singapore. And owning a credit card in Singapore comes with great advantages. There are at least 3 different kinds of credit cards you can get in Singapore. First is the Air Miles credit card. This allows you to earn miles for every dollar that you spend. People use it typically to get free upgrades or also free air tickets. If you're into that, you can check those credit cards that are available in Singapore. There are also others, so really do your research. Personally, I have the DBS Altitude card and I've been quite happy with it. I use it for most of my spending, so I think in 1 month I can collect about 3,000 miles maybe. And most importantly, the miles never expire, and I can also use it to offset some of my expenses. Then there are cashback credit cards, where you are getting back a small amount of what you spend back into your bank account. Here are some popular cashback credit cards that you can take a look at. And the last kind of credit cards is reward credit cards. I'm not really into those, so I cannot give you a lot of details, but basically those reward credit cards are giving you vouchers at some merchants depending on what you spend. For those cards, it's really important that you know where you are usually shopping and see the partners of these credit cards, whether you are gonna get vouchers that actually interest you. If you don't know the kind of credit cards you wanna get, you can take a look at your lifestyles and your spending habits. Are you traveling often, or are you dining often? For example, in my case, because I'm from France, I happen to travel quite often, at least like maybe once a year to visit my family, so it made sense that I go for a miles credit card. And also on the side, I already use some apps to get cashback, so it made sense to me. But it might be different for you. I know some people, they really don't understand the concept of miles. But to choose your credit card, something else that you can consider is the sign-up bonuses. Sometimes they are really great. Sign-up bonuses works in a way where you go and you sign up for a credit card. Sometimes you have to mention that you want this specific promotion and you have to meet requirements. So for example, is to spend this minimum in the first 3 months of getting your credit cards, and then only you're gonna get the rewards, whether it's free miles or it's maybe a voucher, or it's maybe like AirPods or Dyson or like whatever they have on promotion at that time. Consider also the annual fees, even though most often for the first and second year they are going to be waived. See if it's worth paying or if eventually you can just get it waived. Most often the bank are like quite lenient on that. As a recent credit card user myself, maybe like a year, I can only advise you to pay your balance in full every month. Before that, I was always using a debit card and never spent the money that I didn't own. While I'm using my credit card, I'm just using it the same way, just capitalizing on the rewards that the credit card offer, which actually some debit cards also come with reward. I will put some example here. It's just that often it's less than the credit cards. But usually if you have a credit card and you don't pay the outstanding balance, just know that you will have to pay interest, and usually the interest are super high, so it's not really worth it to go this route. The real reason why I actually got a credit card is because a few months ago I got scammed. I paid for some tickets online to go to some attraction overseas, use my debit card, and then a few days later $4,000 were gone on my account. Someone made overseas transfer with Western Union on my account, and even though I noticed it quite quickly, the money was just gone. Of course, I reported it to DBS and they were quite prompt handling the matter, but I still had to call a few times and definitely caused me a lot of stress because it was $4,000 gone on my account. It's really a lot of money. And the point with that story is that actually when you use a debit card, the money is transferred directly, but when you use a credit card, the transaction is actually floating until you pay your balance. So it's way easier to cancel a transaction. So lesson learned, for whenever I buy online now, I will use my credit card. Luckily, I was still able to get the money back, but it might not be always the case if you're not able to prove that the transaction is fraudulent. Now, getting a credit card in Singapore is actually just a little bit more difficult than opening a bank account in Singapore, because you will have to prove your legal address, but on top of that you will have to also justify that you have a stable income. Most banks in Singapore will need you to earn $4,000 yearly to be able to be eligible for a credit card. To prove your income, you will have to give 3 to 6 months income slip as well as an employment letter. It looks something like that, and it must include the name of your employer, your position, your salary, and be signed by your company. I will put a template in the description box that you can just fill in and get signed by your company if you are planning on applying for a credit card, so it's easier for you. But beside that, if you have the document, it's actually quite straightforward to get a credit card in Singapore. You can just apply online. And I think that's all you need to know about bank accounts and credit cards in Singapore. I didn't really mention saving accounts, but I did open one with UOB when I got my UOB One account. It was suggested by the banker and I just went for it. Once you have the bank account, it's actually really easy to get into saving account and other kind of insurance that the bank might be providing. Always see what's suitable for you, for your profile. In my case, I used the saving account to reach my minimum spend requirement on my UOB One account, so every month I never miss the bonus, and I actually spend with my DBS credit card. So in a way, I get two kinds of reward. I know people that are balancing more than 2 accounts and multiple credit cards, opening and closing bank account depending on the sign-up bonuses and rewards. It can be actually quite tiring and you can miss out if you have too much to look at. So it's not really something that I recommend. Just find something that works for you. If you have any question, you can let me know in the comments as well as suggestions. And if you are looking for an overall guide of living and working in Singapore, remember that I just released my ebook, New to Singapore. It's an overall guide on life in Singapore. It's available on my website. Thank you for watching. If this video is helpful, make sure to leave a thumbs up and I will see you next time. Bye bye!